What is up, guys? I'm Envy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I am going to be going over 10 palettes I still pine over and talking way too much. So if that is something that you're interested in, keep on watching. So I'm gonna be honest, I got this makeup idea. I think it came from Amy Loves Makeup, but it was like a while ago. So if that is the video, it'll be linked in the card and it'll be one of the first links in the description. But if not, I know that I've watched someone do something like this at some point in time, and I'm sorry that I don't remember who. I wrote this down before I started doing my like reacting to the 21 Days of Beauty, and it just kind of reacting to the 21 Days of Beauty became the bigger videos for me, so I just kind of put this one on the back burner. But hi, I'm excited to be getting to it now, and yeah, let's get right into it. Picture it, April 2018. A baby Envy is working at Ulta, and I'm trying to make a Golden Girls reference, but I don't think I'm doing it right. Anyway, I had like just started working at Ulta and I wasn't like as obsessed with makeup as I am now, and I didn't have nearly as big of a collection as I do now, I guess I should say. But if this were released this year, I could justify not getting it. But whenever it was released back in 2018, I really wanted it, and we only had limited stock. And there also was word of Urban Decay's formula not being like as good as it was at one point for the original Couple Naked palettes. This was right after Naked Heat and like right before Naked Cherry and the Game of Thrones collections, which were like lambasted, you know, like no one liked those. So in the grand scheme of things, I'm happy that I didn't get it, but at the time I really wanted it. And sometimes I'll think about it and I'm just like, but ultimately, like, moral of the story is at the Ulta that I was at in Louisiana, it wasn't nearly as big as the California or Florida Ultas that I've worked at. So it was, we didn't get a lot of it. And also, since it was before the Game of Thrones collection, it was very quickly overshadowed. And yeah, I sometimes I think about it. I've seen it like pop up on like a resale site and I'm like, you don't need it. You do not need it. It is almost 4 years old. It is 3.5. It is a toddler. Next is the Melt Cosmetics Blueprint palette. I think I romanticize the neutral with a pop of blue color story because that was what was popular when I first got into makeup. And so I think I kind of just like the nostalgia of it all. The two main reasons why I've hesitated to purchase this palette is because I've heard amazing things about Melt's formula, and I've also heard terrible things about Melt's formula. And also, I think you can only buy this currently on Melt's website, which I don't really want to deal with because typically, you know, with like Ulta and Sephora, you have to spend like X amount to get free shipping, and it's less than what you'd have to spend at with Melt, so I don't want to get free shipping. Plus, the return policies are better if I end up not liking it. And I'm a sucker for the dinky little point system that Ulta and Sephora have, no matter how bad Sephora's is. But yeah, I've heard that this is like the good Melt formula, and so that it suckers me in, but I'd have to wait for like a free shipping or like a super sale in order to be like really like I'm going to get this. But yeah, I want it. I don't know how much I'd use the blues because like I have blue eyeshadow right now and I don't use it. I think I just romanticize it. Next are two palettes that I'm gonna kind of lump in as like one little entry because they're from the same brand, and it is the Norvina Pro Palette 4 and 5. Yes, 4 and 5. Let me preface this with the fact that I do not like Norvina's business practices. Like, she underpays like Black content creators, and she also doesn't make business deals while Mercury isn't retrograde. And that is why I don't buy these. Is it no, it's volume 3 and volume 5. I thought like, no, I didn't. Did I want volume 4? Did I want volume? It was volume 3. The orangey one. I love that. And then like volume 5, I know that it's just like neutrals with like pops of pink and I think a yellow and like some purple, and they have a pressed glitter, and I like pressed glitters, and you know, the super like autumn but also spring and summer, like the volume 3 palette I could use for like any season, but I already have enough colorful palettes to justify not getting these like $60 palettes. And also I've heard bad things about the Norvina brand formula. You know, the Anastasia formula is like iconic and like everyone likes it, so but Norvina formula, like, just I've heard that it's good, but whenever you compare it to Anastasia formula, it's not that good. So I mean, I can justify not wanting it for so many reasons that like I just want it because it's like I just want to look at it. How about that? I pine over it because I just think they're pretty. There we go. Wow, I'm looking at like the little script that I wrote so many like months ago, and I'm realizing that I cheated on like a lot of these, because this is 5, 6, and 7, which are the, I'm gonna kind of angle myself a little more. The Pat McGrath Mothership V, which I believe is Bronze Seduction, and both Divine Rose palettes. These are $125. There's 10 shades in here. I don't need to buy $12.50, like if you were to break it down into singles, like eyeshadows. I don't need it. But I do have to admit that these are really pretty palettes, and I do like just look at them every like Sephora, VIB, and Rouge sale. I just look at them and I'm like, could I? And I ultimately don't, because like getting $24 off of the $125 palettes still makes them $100, and I don't need it. But ultimately, like, I feel uncomfortable using my big Natasha Denona $129 palettes, and they're like 15 shades for $129. These are 10 shades for $125, like arguably a worse deal. So if I'm uncomfortable using those on my channel, I'm uncomfortable using the Pat McGrath palette on my channel. And I just, why would I buy them? Why? I'm also a sucker for a really good like red shimmer, because red is my favorite color, so I think that also really draws me into the Bronze Seduction. Meanwhile, I just think the Divine Rose palettes are pretty. I'm really tempted by Pat's holiday collection with the blush trios and that palette. I think that palette is going to be my first Pat McGrath palette. I can't remember what it's called now, but it's a little bit less expensive. It kind of is like Pat McGrath's answer to the Natasha Denona Midi palettes, where it's smaller versions, I guess, of like the shades, and a lot more shades for 2/3 of the price of the normal like 10 shade palettes. You get 15 to 20 for 70, and it's like, whoa. And I just want to try it, and I've been wanting to try her blushes for a really long time, but I can't. With me project panning blushes, it's kind of difficult to justify purchasing blushes right now, but I might, because I might. And but yeah, I definitely am not going to be buying the $125 palettes, but I look at them every single chance I get and I want them. Next is another cheat, and it is the Huda Beauty Naughty and Nude Neutrals. What is it? New Nudes. It is the Huda Beauty New Nudes and Naughty palette. I don't even know what I want these. They're so neutral, and they both have like a cream shade that I know that I'll never use. I think I just really like the aesthetic of Huda Beauty's brand, and the ad campaigns like really get me sometimes. And I do look at these as well, like every sale, but like I'll look at it and I'll like almost click add to cart, and I'm just like, I have these in some way, shape, or form, and so I never add them to my cart and I never buy them, but I do look at them. I think I also kind of just like romanticize like mauves as well, because mauve lipstick doesn't look good on me. It looks too gray. I look like I'm dying, but mauve lipstick looks, I think back to, remember the Desi and Katie collection with Dose of Colors, and there was this one mauve lipstick, and then there was like the terracotta brown lipstick. I loved both of those lipsticks, but whenever I swatched the mauve lipstick on me, it looked too like gray and pink, and I hated it. I saw it on my friend Christine, and it was like a Her Lips but better shade, and I think that I'll get that at one point. I think it's like, no, you look best in browns, you look best in like pinks. You look best in not mauves, but I think I romanticize the mauves to an extent, and that the same goes for like mauve eyeshadow. Sometimes like Dusty Rose from my Anastasia Beverly Hills Soft Glam palette just looks kind of dull and gray on me, and then I'll go in with like the pink shimmer to like try and make it look more pink, and it doesn't work, does not work. I just need to accept that I am a brown toned girl. I don't think that is politically correct. Mauves don't work on me, but I romanticize them so much because I always think back to that lipstick with Christine. Last and not least is kind of keeping up with the theme of the Huda Beauty new nudes palette. It is the Morphe 25XO. It was their holiday palette last year, and once again, it's just the romanticization. It's just me romanticizing. Hello? It's just me romanticizing mauves and purples and pressed glitters because I want all these shades to work on me, and they never will. But yeah, I do think that this is a stunning palette. Is it massive? And I've kind of sworn off their 35 palettes. Absolutely. But I do sometimes I think they've made it permanent now, and sometimes they'll post that they've restocked it because it sells out every time, and I'm like, yes, please. Yes, thank you, Morphe. But yeah, overall this is dumb because I don't typically like Morphe quality eyeshadow. I definitely don't like Morphe's big palettes, and I have more mauve palettes than I know what to do with. A lot of these palettes are mauve, but I prefer brown tones with my skin tone. So I don't know what's up with that, other than I just want something to work for me that I know never will. Maybe I just think that mauve is just like a really pretty color, but I don't think mauve is a pretty color. I just think some mauves are. I don't know. I wanted this, and I never bought it because I knew that I would never use it. It would be in like palette graveyard with my James Charles and my, no, there's this one Morphe palette, I'll put it here. It was their summer palette like 3 years ago, and I've only used it for weddings, whenever I've done wedding makeup. That's it. It's stunning and I love it, and it has all the tones that I want, but it's so big that it's neutral. Maybe that'll be my pan that palette after I nodded like my head towards it as if you could see it, my Good as Gold palette by Colourpop. But yeah, I didn't realize how cheap this video was. Here's the thing, I want a lot of things from brands that like I can't afford. Huda Beauty, Huda Beauty, I like her eyeshadows, but I only feel drawn to like some of her. I feel drawn to a lot of her eyeshadow palettes, but I've also heard that like her quality has gone down, so that's another thing that like makes me at it. Pat McGrath is just too expensive for me to like be like, yes, I can justify this purchase. Absolutely I can. I cannot. I simply cannot justify any of these purchases. But with like the Beached palette and with the Blueprint palette, they're like my comfort zone palettes. So I can't justify getting them. A, because the Beached palette isn't sold anymore, but also because like I know that I have these palettes, and like once I get them, I think I'll feel like fulfilled in some way, but I really won't, because it'll be like, oh good, another palette for my palette graveyard. So I think the theme of this video is the romanticization, I'm gonna assume that's a word, of eyeshadow tones that may or may not work for me, and brands that may or may not work for me or are definitely too expensive for me, and just things that I know that I won't use, but I really want to. I've spelt romanticization like 4 times in my notes, and I don't think I've spelt it right a single time. But like, long story short, palettes are not display pieces for a lot of people, so I need to not like look at the palette as like a color story. Like I don't need to look at this and just be like, ah, this color story is nice. It's not like swatches for my house. This is a functional product that I will use or not use, and I need to make an informed decision on whether or not I will use it, as opposed to just being like, ah, yes, beautiful. I guess I'm trying to be a better makeup consumer, and I'm not saying that I won't get these palettes one day, and I don't think that me should I get one of these palettes. I don't think that it'll be me being like a massive hypocrite. I think it'll just like, maybe I made a good decision or maybe I made a bad decision, but I do think about these palettes a lot whenever I'm like looking at sales or just thinking about my makeup journey in general. And this was just a very talking heavy video, and I'm sitting here with like my arms crossed. I don't know if you can see, but thank you everybody so much for watching. I know this got like a little rambly at times, and it was definitely repetitive, just all over the place. But once again, thank you everybody so much for watching. I love you all. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.